Hello friends, welcome back. In this video, we'll be discussing some more para jumble exercises that are generally asked for CAT and other management entrance examinations. So as usual, the regular thing that I'm telling you always that you have to first do the exercise or attempt the exercise on your own. The exercise is given in the in a PDF format. The link is provided in the video description. So please do the exercise on your own first, then come back and watch the video so that your understanding becomes better and you are able to capture the nuances of the passage or the nuances of the techniques that can be used in identifying the correct answers in unjumbling the logic. So this is why I'm always telling you to attempt the exercise on your own first and then come and watch the videos. All right, so we'll go straight away to the questions. Question number one is this about the a particular army general, and we are talking about the Congo and where Hutus and Tutsis are fighting, and about the neighboring country Rwanda. All these things are being talked about. So just by reading the sentences, maybe you won't get an idea. So in such cases, always try to form the connection between two or three sentences, or try to form sentence pairs. So here, what can you do? Ostensibly means something that appears to be true, but which is not true is ostensibly. It means something which is presumably, or something that is supposed to be true but not really true, or something that appears, or something that is just a facade, that is ostensibly. So here, this particular person, he, the pronoun he is used. So this cannot be an opening sentence. We are talking about somebody. He is a member of the Congolese army. So he's supposed to be a member of the Congolese army, or he is presumed to be a member of the Congolese army, but he is in fact a freelance killer. Means he is a mercenary who is killing for money, and he has his own Tutsi militia. Militia means a private army is known as a militia. So we are talking about somebody. The he is used. So in the entire passage, who is the only person whom we are referring to? General Bosco Naganda, whatever his name is. So he is nicknamed the Terminator. So we are talking about him, and he is a member of the Congolese army. This is the statement. But whether they are sentence pairs, we don't know. So let us wait for a while. All these might be a price worth paying if the law were having its intended effect, that we don't know. Means whatever prices we are paying for this, it might be worth it if the law were having its intended effect, or if the law was actually taking its due course, or if the law was actually doing what it was supposed to do. This is the meaning. So this we don't know what we are talking about, or this statement is talking about. So let us forget this for a while. The law is benefiting some of the very people it was meant to single out. So here it says that the law is actually benefiting the people who the law is supposed to single out. Single out means persecute or implicate or punish. So the law is supposed to punish certain people, but in fact, what the law is doing, the law is benefiting the very people it is supposed to punish. This is the meaning, and the word meanwhile is very important. So in the meanwhile means in the during this period, the law is actually benefiting the people which it was supposed to punish. This is the meaning. So what can we say at this point of time? We can't say anything. Let us forget about it. So the chief beneficiary is General Bosco Ndaganda. So these two sentences from which we can mean that we are talking about law benefiting some people it is meant to punish, and the chief of such people is General Bosco Ndaganda. So C and D can form a sentence pair, because C says that the law is actually benefiting the people it was meant to punish, and the chief beneficiary, or the chief, or the main person whom the law was supposed to punish but it is benefiting, is General Bosco Ndaganda. So that is this thing, and they provide security to traders. So we don't know what is this they referring to. So in this case, which is the next sentence you can come, because we are talking about the pronoun he here. So we can say that A will be the next sentence, because we after talking about Bosco the general, then we can say that he's presumably a member of the Congolese army, but is in fact a mercenary. So CDA will form a sequence. So by that time you can remove this one. So the two options are CDA coming as a sequence is 3 and 4. Now we can talk about think about the next sentence. What can we talk about the next sentence? They provide security. Who is providing security? The Tutsi militia. So militia means a private army is known as a militia. So this militia must be providing security to traders smuggling minerals across the border to neighboring Rwanda. So this particular private army under General Bosco is actually providing security. Security is given in inverted commas, means this is not a security that an army is giving. It is a paid security given by the private militia. That is why it is given in inverted commas. So they are paying money to this guy, so he is giving them security in exchange for money. That is why it is given in inverted commas to traders smuggling minerals. So people who are undertaking anti-social activities, so they are being protected by the law, and that is why the chief beneficiary, this guy and his militia, is providing protection to the smugglers. So CDAE can be a sequence. Then what can we say about the this thing B? So CDA is here, CDA is here. So now B, whether it comes in the beginning or at the end. So what B is saying, all this might be a price worth paying if the law were meant to have its intended effect. So whenever a singular noun is having a plural verb, law, were, it means that it is a wishful thinking, or you think that how I wish I were a brilliant student. So you can say, means how I wish I were a brilliant student means I'm not a brilliant student, but how I wish I were. So this is called wishful thinking. So here the author is making a wishful thinking that all that we are doing, all these prices that we are paying, it would have been worth it if the law were if the law was actually doing what it was supposed to do. Then we talk about meanwhile the law is benefiting some of the very people. So this becomes a logical statement when we say B here, means the whatever prices we are paying, maybe this is extracted from the middle of a paragraph or another passage, so we don't know. So all this means all the things that the passage is talking about before this statement. So it might have been a price worth paying if the law had taken its duty, or law had done what it was supposed to do. But the law, what the law is doing, the law is benefiting the same people it was meant to single out, and the chief beneficiary is this Bosco. He is a member of the Congolese army, or supposed to be a member of the Congolese army, but a freelance killer, and he has a militia, and this militia is providing security to traders. So BCDAE becomes a very good answer. If you state B at the end, what will happen? Whatever we have taken, all this might be a price worth paying if the law were having its intended effect. We know that the law is not having an intended effect, because we have already talking about the law not doing what it was supposed to do. So there is no place for wishful thinking here, because this wishful thinking should come in the beginning. Then you have to describe why this is not happening, why this becomes a wishful thinking, or why we are thinking that how I wish the law had taken its, or the law was taking its normal duty, or whatever it was supposed to do. That is why the B at the end will not be correct here. And all this might be a price, whatever the things there is, we are not talking about whatever price we are paying. So that again, we are only talking about the general Bosco doing or supporting the strugglers. What the price the normal people are paying, that is not stated here. So two reasons why B cannot be the last statement. B should be the first statement. Only then it becomes logical. So all the, you might have some issue with all this. We have to understand that this might have been taken from the middle of another passage. So whatever things that have been talked about before, about the prices the people pay for many or supporting the law or maintaining the law, and this price might have been worth paying if the law had done its whatever it was supposed to do. Instead, the law is benefiting the people it was supposed to punish. That is the meaning. So that is why BCDAE becomes the logical sequence. So here you can see that logical sequence BCDAE. You can go through it, and you will find that this becomes a very meaningful paragraph in this way. So that is how you unjumble a passage. Now go to the second one. Again, seems a very complex because we don't seem to have any connection between the statements in this particular passage. These kind of passages are increasingly being employed by all management exams. You need to understand the read between the lines and understand what the passage is actually meaning to say, and then try to figure out the logical connection between the statements. So the statements are all simple enough, but only thing is that they seem disjointed, or they seem not to have any connection between each other. But we have to find the connection by clearly going through the, or meticulously going through the statements. That is why these type of questions, even though the statements are simple enough, the unjumbling becomes slightly difficult. So what is the problem? By reading the sentences, what can you understand? Can you understand that we are talking about a restaurant or a cafe or something like that? And this restaurant is might be serving British sandwiches. So, and we are talking about the employees of the restaurant. The manager is swinging by to commiserate about the sweltering weather. So this is and the cashier is asking New Yorkers how they are doing, and genuinely seems to want an answer. Means the cashier is talking to his customers and inquiring about their well-being, and he seems very much genuine. Means he is not just doing small talk for the sake of pleasing them. He seems to be very genuinely concerned about his customers. The manager and also swings by, means the manager in between his duties, he is coming by to commiserate about the sweltering. Commiserate means to talk about or to express sympathy about the sweltering weather. Means very hot, it must have been very hot outside, and the manager also comes and talks to the customers, and they discuss about how hot it is and those kind of things. That is why commiseration. Commiseration means expressing sympathy with somebody, or expressing your agreement of opinion, or expressing similarity of opinion regarding something with somebody is called commiseration. And the guy who is throwing out the garbage offers customers a cup of water. So here from this statement we know that we are all the subject of the conversation is the customer, because the cashier is asking New Yorkers, the guy who is throwing out the garbage offering customers, manager also swinging by. In this statement we don't know who is talking to, but obviously the customers only. So they are all employees. So from this understanding, what can you talk about? Or what can you understand? We can understand that this we are talking about a restaurant in New York which is serving British sandwiches, and this the state of the sandwiches also, the statement is saying thin and understated with ingredients like free range egg mayonnaise and avocado pine nut filling. So it is not a very appealing kind of sandwich, because it is very thin. The sandwich is very thin, not very fat or very much juicy kind of sandwich, and understated with ingredients. Understated means not really nourished with too much ingredients. So understated with ingredients means no, the ingredients are not that much, and that too free range egg mayonnaise means something that is that we can get freely. That kind of egg mayonnaise is used in the sandwich, and avocado and pine nut filling is there. So these kind of sandwiches are being served by this restaurant, and it is not because of this quirky. What is quirky? Strange, or something that is not really good. So that is quirky. So here the sandwiches are not really good. So even then the restaurant might be doing a good business. So the author is wondering why this restaurant is doing such a good business, even though it's not serving very good British sandwiches. So that is why he says that it's the employees. No, it's the employees. Means it is not because of the strange and not so good sandwiches, British sandwiches, as this restaurant is serving. It's because of the employees. So B and D becomes a pair here. Now comes the so once you understand that, then the other things become easy. So we are talking about the success formula of this particular restaurant. It's not because of the food they are serving. It's because of the attitude of the employees towards the customers. Once you understand that, the rest is easy. So then what could be the next sentence? Or definitely it should be this one, because New York, who are the customers? We need to know. It is the New Yorkers. So that is why it is a British restaurant stated in New York. So situated in New York. So this restaurant is then cashier. He is asking New Yorkers how they are concerned and genuinely. So it is talking about the sincerity of the cashier towards the customers. So this should come. Then after that, we can either have Guy who is throwing out the garbage offers customers a cup of water. Manager sinks by to commiserate about the sweltering weather. It can either be BDE or BDE because there is no real strict sequence that this should come, C should come first and after A, or A should come first or after C. Both are equally replaceable, interchangeable with each other. That is why it could be either BDEAC or BDECA. But BDE, where is it given? It is there only in one sequence. So you can remove this one, remove this one, remove this one. So BDE, then AC. So since CA is not there, we don't have to worry or break our heads regarding whether to choose between BDECA or BDEAC. We have only one option, BDEAC. So BDEAC will be the answer. So it's not those quirky British sandwiches, thin and understated with ingredients like free-range egg mayonnaise and avocado pine nut filling. It's the employees. The cashier is no, it's the employees. So that is why B and D food should form as a. This no is helping us to understand that it's not because of the food, it's because of the employees. So B should come first and then D should come. Then the cashier is asking New Yorkers. The guy is throwing out the garbage, offers customers a cup of water. Manager is talking to the customers, expressing sympathy about the hot weather. So these are the things by which the employees are treating the customers with respect and courtesy, as a result of which the restaurant is doing good business. This is the way you unjumble the sentence, the logic or the paragraph. Now go to the third question. Again, a very difficult one with a lot of things being stated. It is basically talking about the cost cutting or the cutting of expenses that US government is forced to do and how it has to be done. All these things are discussed here. So it is talking about the way in which discretionary spending has to be reduced, means the expenses have to be reduced, and there is a Congress has to means otherwise what will happen, you have to do a lot of cost cutting. If the either you have to reduce the cost across the board, that will affect all the areas, or you have to raise the revenue. So these are the two solutions or the two concerns that the US government is faced with, and they have to choose either of the two. Either reduce the expenses across the board, cutting of all the expenditures have to be done, or raise the taxes. So where we can say that raising the taxes is the other alternative, the raising taxes is given here. So we are talking basically about the finances or the budgeting of the US government and what are the issues faced with them. So here, by reading the statements, it is not really possible to find out which could be the first statement, or in a first glance, you cannot unjumble the paragraph. So in such cases, always try to find sentence pairs. This is the technique you should be using. Find sentence pairs that will help you to start somewhere, and then you can build on that idea to unjumble the logic. So how can you make sentence pairs here? See, talk about for all the talk of big government, means for all the big things that the government is saying, or all the bravado that the government is doing, or all the energy which government is saying some things confidently, there is no way to cut that much in discretionary spending programs. That much means we have to find what is that much. So there is no way that discretionary programs can be cut to that level without crippling basic functions. So if you cut the discretionary programs or projects of the government to this level, it will be seriously affecting the basic functions of the government. So we don't know what is that much. So that much can be found in the second step. The third statement means to avoid across the board cuts, Congress must enact at least 1.2 trillion deficit reduction over the 10 years. Means Congress has to make laws which will reduce the deficit by 1.2 trillion in the next 10 years. So this may be that much cutting that the statement in B is talking about. So, and when you read one more statement here, lawmakers could eliminate the FBI, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, National Institute of Health, etc., and still not cut 120 billion annually. So what is the relationship between these two statements? Here 1.2 trillion in 10 years means 120, it comes to, works out to 120 billion in 1 year. So we are talking about the proposed reduction of 1.2 trillion in deficit for a period of 10 years, it comes to 120 billion annually. So these three statements, how can you connect them? See, C talks about the reduction that is required, that is under 1.2 trillion in 10 years. Then A says that there is no way to cut that much programs, means this much amount. 1.2 trillion is the that much amount that is stated in here. So you can say that B is talking about the impossibility or the improbability to reduce that much amount without crippling the basic functions. So which are the basic functions? Here we are talking about the basic or the necessary or the essential services that are required to be maintained. FBI, just like our Central Bureau of Investigation, USA has a Federal Bureau of Investigation. So it is a necessary project. Center for Disease Control, it is again a necessary thing. National Institute of Health, again a necessary institution. Head Start might be another necessary institution. So even if the statement says that even if all these institutions are closed down, that will still not be able to cut 120 billion annually. So this is why this could become the next sentence, because CBD form a sequence. It says the first say that we have to cut 1.2 trillion in 10 years. So even though the government is making very much brave talk or confident talk of cost cutting and all, that much cost cutting cannot be done without crippling the basic functions. Even if you eliminate all the basic functions like FBI, Center for Disease Control, etc., that would still not be able to cut this 120 billion that is required to for a cut of 1.2 trillion in 10 years. This is the meaning. So CBD becomes a very clear sequence. So what can you do? This can be avoided. Only this can be avoided. So now you have to talk about, according to latest news for CBS News, 63% support raising taxes on households. So instead of cutting taxes, what is the alternative? You can raise the revenue. So 63% people are supportive of raising the taxes for families that earn $250,000 or more, and to help address the deficit. So we have a deficit, and in order to solve the problem, instead of reducing the expenses, you can increase the income. 63% of the Americans are supporting this tax proposal for houses or in families that earn more than $250,000 a year. So this is a good statement. You can either put it E like this here, but what will happen here? If that is not enough to energize the White House, here are a few more facts. So we are talking about a few more facts, means this might be that here. So that is not enough to energize that. So this news that, or this fact revealed by the survey that 63% of the Americans do not mind raising the taxes, that would have been very good news for the White House, means the government, because the government, whenever they raise taxes, the people generally don't like it. So when the White House comes to know that 63% of the people are supporting the higher tax proposal, it would make them very happy. So that is why if that is not enough to energize White House, here are a few more facts. So how can you unjumble it? You can say that E will come first about the tax raising, and then A. So that will energize White House. So if that is not enough to energize the White House, these are the facts that are given. Means if you go for cost cutting, it is not going to be practical. So it is better to increase the taxes. This is the meaning. So the government is thinking about which is the better option, whether to increase the taxes or to reduce the expenses. So the passage says that 63% of Americans are supportive of the raising of the taxes. That should make the government convinced about raising taxes. If the government is still not convinced, I will tell you a few more facts. Means then he is talking about how cutting the cost is not going to be a practical solution. So in effect, the author is saying that instead of cutting the cost, it is better to increase the taxes so that the deficit problem can be overcome. So EACBD will be the answer. If you put E after CBD, there will not be any problem with E, but A becomes a problem. If that is not enough to energize our, here are a few more facts. That is not going to suit anywhere, or it will not be able to, we will not be able to put this statement anywhere. So that is why EA sentence pair should come first and then CBD. So this is the answer. This cannot be the answer, and this also cannot be the answer. So this is how the passage would look like once you unjumped it. 63% support raising the taxes on households to help address the deficit. So the passage, or might have already discussed about the deficit in the previous sentences. We don't know. So that continuing that idea, the passage saying that 63% of Americans are supporting it, and if that is not enough to make the White House happy, there are, or convince the White House regarding the how you can do it. Here are a few more facts. Then he is talking about facts about how impractical it is going to be to reduce the expenses. It is better to increase the taxes. That is the meaning. All right, question number 4. This, even though it looks like a complex passage, this is the simplest passage to unjumble in this particular exercise. Here we are talking about the elliptical galaxies, and elliptical galaxies, how they were previously thought to be aging stars. It is then new evidence shows that they are not aging. They are all now giving birth to new stars, and all these things are talked about here. And images of the core NGC 141 were taken in a near ultraviolet light with a sharp-eyed wide field camera, revealed streamers of dust and gas clumps of young blue stars that are significantly less than a billion years old. Here we are talking about a specific case of the theory that we are talking about, elliptical galaxies. So from this, by reading the other sentences, you should know that NGC 41550 might be a elliptical galaxy, which was previously thought that it was a obsolete, or something that is not a galaxy that is producing any new stars. It is something considered to be old and obsolete. But as per the latest evidence, even the elliptical galaxies are producing new stars with the help of new smaller galaxies. And this passage is talking about how elliptical galaxies are producing new stars with the help of smaller galaxies. So what can be the first sentence? Very clearly, B will be the first sentence, because it says that elliptical galaxies were once thought to be aging stars. It is whose star-making heyday was billions of years ago. Star-making heyday means the peak time of star production. So these galaxies, they had their peak star producing time billions of years ago. This was the previous belief, that their peak time is over. These galaxies are now not producing any stars anymore. That was the previous belief. Then we can talk about this one. But new observations with NASA's Hubble Space Telescope are helping to show that elliptical galaxies still have some youthful vigor left. So they are not old as was thought to be previously. They are still having some youthful energy. Then this is because of the encounter with smaller galaxies. So this is the new discovery. So first we talk about the old idea, then we talk about the new idea. Then what we have talked about, how Hubble Space Telescope is giving us new observations. So we have to talk about the example. So this is an example of a 4 images taken by the Hubble Space Telescope, because we are talking about sharp-eyed wide field camera. So camera must be there in a telescope, right? So this is the next sentence. It is talking about the evidence which shows that elliptical galaxies are no longer old. They are still producing new stars. So A will be the next sentence. And then what will be the next sentence? See, evidence shows that the starbirth was sparked by a merger with a dwarf galaxy. So this, how these stars are being born, although we have talked about the theory here, it is thanks to encounters with small galaxies, but we are talking about a specific example of NGC 4150, and the evidence about this NGC 4150 shows that the starbirth was sparked by a merger with a dwarf galaxy. So here we are talking about the specific example. So first we talk about the theory, how elliptical galaxies were thought to be very old, not making stars anymore. Then the new observations with Hubble Space Telescope reveal reveals that they are still making new stars with the help of smaller galaxies. Then we talk about a specific example of NGC 4150 and how the evidence is showing that this galaxy is also creating new stars with the help of a dwarf galaxy. Then the conclusion. What is the conclusion? The new study helps bolster. Study means the entire thing. So the new study helps bolster means support the emerging view that most elliptical galaxies have young stars, bringing new life to old galaxies. So here we are concluding the passage by saying that this study, the entire study regarding NGC 410, is helping to support the emerging theory that most elliptical galaxies are having young stars, bringing life to the old galaxy. So BDACE will be the sequence which will clearly form the logic of the passage. First you talk about a theory, then we talk about a specific example that proves the theory, then you talk about the what is the conclusion of that specific example. So BDACE should be the answer. Option 3 will be the answer. So other things you need not worry about. This is once you understand the passage, the logic becomes very clear cut. There should not be any problem with the logic. You can very easily unjumble this passage. Only thing is that you should not be put off by the scientific concept. Many times what happens is that people, once they see that it is talking about a scientific idea or a concept, especially regarding astronomy and all, they get disheartened or they get disappointed. They will not be reading with focus, as a result of which they miss out on a very important or an easy question. So that is why you should not do that. Even if it is a subject on which you don't have too much of an interest, try to read and understand the things, and then most of the time you will be able to make sense of it. Then the answer becomes very clear and you can do it in an easy fashion. All right, go to the next question. So this question is basically talking about revolutions and things happening in some religions or customs regarding reforms, how reforms happen in society. All these kind of things are being talked about here. And it says that smattering means a small number. Smattering means a small number of do-gooders plead for reform. So do-gooder means anybody who wants to do good for the society is called a do-gooder. So a small number of do-gooders request for reform, but it is hard to figure out exactly what sets them into motion or brings them to success. So what is the them referring to? It could either be the do-gooders or any other noun that can fit the them. Here this is only a single noun, so that will not fit the them. Then a reform in question, that also is not correct. So revolutions. So fast moral revolutions do take place once in a while. So it could either be, it is hard to figure out what exactly sets them in motion means. It could either be about the do-gooders or about the revolutions. Then high-minded prophets, some part of the world denounce an old and dreadful social concern. So means a prophet or a religious leader who has a very high level of thinking, he denounces or criticizes an old and dreadful social custom. So this could be the thing that sets the ball in motion regarding how reform takes place. The reform in question appears at a glance to be impractical, unpopular, and unlikely. So the reform, initially it looks to be very much impractical and the unpopular and not really going to happen, but generally it happens. So how that happens, that is how you need to understand. So what could be the first sentence? We can say this could be a vast moral revolutions do take place once in a while. So we can say that this is how moral revolutions take place, or how very big moral revolutions take place in the society. Then what could be the second sentence? It is hard to figure out what exactly sets them in motion or brings them. So we told you that the them can refer to either the do-gooders or the revolutions. But a smattering of do-gooders plead for reform, and reform in question appears to be impractical. So you can see that A and E is a sentence pair because we both are talking about the reform. So A, E will form a sentence pair, means some people who want to do good for the society, they are demanding for reform, but the reform will appear initially to be impractical and unlikely to happen. So A, E will be there. So in this case, the them will definitely refer to the revolution. So you can say that CB will be another sentence pair. CB means vast revolutions take place once in a while, but it is very difficult to say how what exactly sets them in motion, or what starts the revolution, or how these revolutions come to succeed. So CB can be a sentence pair, AE can be a sentence pair. So now where to place D? So high-minded prophet in some part of the world denounces an old and dreadful social custom. So prophet is criticizing an existing system. So where can we put D? See, whenever any revolution, any social changes takes place, what first happens? First, we feel that the existing system is bad or not good. So we criticize the existing system. Then what happens? Then somebody requests for some change or reform to happen. So, hey, then that change happens, even though it seems initially that the change is not going to happen, or it is going to be impractical, but generally it happens. So this is how moral revolutions take place. So CB means the moral revolutions do take place, means even though it is not regularly taking place, it do take place once in a while, but we cannot exactly figure out how this is happens, or what is the initial thrust as a result of which these revolutions happen, or how they succeed, we don't know. Generally, what happens is that a high-minded prophet is criticizing, and denouncing means criticizing. So first, the criticism of the existing system or the existing custom, then somebody demanding some changes, and then the changes appearing to be impractical and unlikely, then obviously after some time it happens. So that is not stated here, but this is how revolutions take place. So you can say that CBDAE will be the sequence here. You may have some confusion about CBAD. CB is there, that is correct. Then we talk about smattering of do-gooders, then high-minded prophet, then the reform in question. But what is the problem here? If you put A first and then D later, then what will happen? First you request for reform, then you criticize the existing system. That is not really logical. When you think about how the process goes or progresses, you can understand that first, if for anything to any existing thing to change, what is the first impetus needed? It is a dissatisfaction with the existing system, or a criticism of the existing system. Then we will think about some changes that are needed to be introduced to form a new system, that is called reform. Then the reform happening. So that is why D should be the first sentence, because it is criticizing the existing system. Then comes the need for a demand for a reform. Then comes the reform, but initially it will appear to be impractical. So CBDAE is the best answer, not CBAD. Other things you need not even consider. These are not correct. So option 1 will be the answer. So moral evolution take place once in a while. It is hard to figure out how it happens. High-minded prophet in some part of the world denounces an old and dreadful custom. Then do-gooders pleading for reform, and the reform, even at a glance, it appears to be impractical, but generally it happens. That is how moral revolutions happen. So this is how the sequence is formed. So I hope you have found the video to be useful and got some insights into how the techniques that we can use in unjumbling logic passages to make them logical. If you have found the content informative and useful in your preparation, please like, share, and subscribe, so that I get motivated to bring or create more videos like this, which will benefit you. Thank you. Bye bye.